let's chat a little bit, maybe a lot of bit, about credit. And the guru of credit is, and I'll share with you. Now, when you talk about folks that are helping to correct credit reports, I'm just going to call a spade because I can and you expect it of me. It's not the sexiest world, and there's a lot of shysters out there. And I'm going to tell you that you got to watch what you're doing. Why do I bring that up? Because you got to go with somebody. You've got to work with somebody who's vetted, who's got a great reputation, who helps people with the right way, the right heart. And you can look, and I mean, I can tell you, leading a lending team, when I one time said that I might consider doing credit repair, the CEO of the company said, "You better not." And he doesn't tell us not what to do and what not to do. So it's been simple for me for, I don't know, 10 years, I don't know, give or take. I've sent everything. I've referred every person that I know that asks about this to Jeff Sipes and the team of Blue Water Credit. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, Ron. Excited to be here. Yeah.
So, I don't want to go too deep into it, but am I missing something with the thought of people really needing to be careful of what they're doing in this space?
Yeah, unfortunately, Ron, there's over 40,000 credit repair companies in the U.S. And for us California residents, there's only about 100 that are actually licensed to do business here in our state. So odds are you're working with someone, if you just have a friend that's doing credit repair, or if you're finding somebody online, unfortunately, you want to make sure they're registered. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? Just like that old adage.
Yeah, one of the things that and maybe it's not the case anymore, but it used to be that, you'd hear some of these companies say, "Well, I guarantee that we can get this cleaned for you." And I say that in my world, the only thing that's guaranteed in investments is treasuries. Can somebody really guarantee that they're going to be able to clean up someone's report?
Unfortunately, we can't, Ron, because we're dealing with a third party. Now, one thing that we have added in our recent years is we do have a team of attorneys. We have 3 law firms that we're sending clients to. If creditors aren't fixing violations or mistakes, and just last year, Ron, our clients received over $300,000 in cash compensation for creditor violations.
Explain that a little bit to me. $300,000 in cash comp. What's that about?
Yeah, so we're looking over the credit report. We're looking for issues, identity theft, incorrect balances reporting, duplicate accounts that shouldn't be on there. If clients have 4 or more charge-offs, odds are one of those charge-offs is misreporting, or if a collection agencies aren't adding dispute verbiage after a debt validation was sent.
And so you do all this stuff based on what the law says. And if the creditors don't adhere to the law, then that's when you're able to then just forward the file over to an attorney. Is that how that works?
Yep, it is. Yeah, we send them to our attorneys. The attorneys don't charge anything out of pocket, but they do keep 30 to 40% of the settlement. We just had a client last month that they received over $35,000 in cash settlement. That was her portion, just because creditors wouldn't fix the errors on her report.
It almost sounds punitive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So
one of the things that I see a lot is, we're when we look at stats, we know people have been living off of credit cards since the COVID money stopped flowing in, and the credit card balances are going up. How does that affect someone's credit?
Yeah. So FICO, like you said earlier, is the credit score most lenders are using. FICO states 1 maxed out credit card can impact the score by 40 points. And if you have multiple maxed out cards, your score can drop over 100 points. So unfortunately, having maxed out cards makes you more at risk for having defaulted payments or having collections. So maxed out cards significantly drops your score.
So how do we correct that? I mean, I'm not spending money, but is there a strategy there that we should be working?
Yeah, for sure. So debt snowball is something that we've kind of adopted. You list your debt smallest to largest. You want to make your minimum payments on everything. And then your smallest accounts, you want to pay off with any extra money. That's also going to raise your credit score the fastest. The other option is the debt avalanche. Debt avalanche is where you're listing all of your credit cards, and you're going to list them by order of finance. So whichever has the highest interest rates, you're going to attack first. That way you'll actually pay the cards off faster, but psychologically and from your credit score standpoint, the debt snowball is a better option for you.
So if you've got it kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
Right. Getting out of debt, the debt avalanche is probably going to help you because you're getting rid of the higher interest rate. And that logically sounds like what people want to do. But the debt snowball, if you're trying to buy a house, that might be your better option just because that's going to get you help your utilizations quicker.
Yep, exactly. Your debt to income ratio will be better, as well as it'll improve your credit score faster because FICO looks at each card individually. They look at your limit versus the balance. They call that your utilization. So if you're able to pay off 3 or 4 smaller cards first, your overall credit score is going to be benefited from that. And then your largest accounts will pay off last.
Would it benefit me to get an extra small card or two just to help that with that?
I mean, so that's kind of a loaded question. So if you have a good credit score, you apply for a credit card, you're going to have a credit inquiry. So it will hurt you a little bit there, probably 1 to 5 points. The new account, a new credit card, if you have old accounts, your score won't be hurt that bad. But if you have relatively all your accounts are new and you open up another new account, probably going to have more of an impact on your score. So, but if your goal is to get out of debt and you have a good credit score, I would look at getting like a 0% interest for 12 months. Then if you have money to pay that off, it'll help you get out. Because the average credit card interest rate right now is probably around 23 to 25%. So your interest charges are crazy right now on those cards.
Yeah, it is crazy. I know I've been telling everyone 22.84, so I'm right in line with what you're seeing as well. Continuing our conversation, Jeff Sipes is with us, Blue Water Credit. He is the credit guru and somebody who the listeners of Ron Siegel Radio have been talking to for many, many years, Jeff and his team. And, we get rave reviews and it's comforting to us. We have to vet people and make sure that if we're going to refer somebody from the show, that we know that they're going to have the consumer's best interest at heart. And we can safely say that when we send people over to Blue Water Credit. So thank you for helping the Ron Siegel Radio family, Jeff.
Oh man, it's a privilege. My wife and I started Blue Water Credit in 2008 with a vision. Our goal was to love and value people by offering solutions to giving hope and guidance to people struggling with bad credit. I was our first client when I was 21. I dropped out of college to start a business. I destroyed my credit, so I know firsthand what bad credit feels like. And my credit's better now, Ron, so that's good news.
So let me ask you something, because I'm going to use me as an example, Jeff. So I use a service called myfico.com, and I'm monitoring my credit all the time. I'm probably a loony because it gives me an update every time something changes on my report or my wife's report. Am I overdoing it, or is that something you recommend?
No, myfico.com is the only website where you're able to see your FICO scores for car loans, for home loans, for credit cards. So it is the best website to get accurate scores. And honestly, these days, Ron, you really want to be watching your credit because identity theft's on a rise. Creditors are making mistakes like crazy. So no, I think it's a great place to get your information.
Are you seeing any movement up or down on the accuracy of credit reports? Are they still just as bogus as they used to be? My words.
Yeah, the last study I saw was probably 8 years ago. They said 79% of credit reports had a mistake. So it could be a name, an address, a phone number could be wrong, or it could be as serious as you're marked as dead. We've had a few clients come to us and they're like, I don't have a credit score because I'm marked as deceased. I'm like, that's kind of a big mistake. So we help them work through that.
I wonder what the attorneys could get if they won't correct that one.
Exactly. That's got to be a big settlement, Ron.
Yeah, I would think that's kind of a nutty thing. So, Jeff, I've talked to people, and we've run a video for the last few years and I talk about paying your credit card bill before the statement due date. Is that still something that works? Is that still a benefit to people?
It is, Ron. Yeah, especially if you pay your cards off in full every month. There's 2 dates to remember: your statement end date and then the payment due date, right? When your statement closes and when your payment's due. So the credit cards send the information to the credit bureau when your statement closes or statement ends. So if your balances are low, say below 10%, you're going to have the best credit score possible. So if you max out your cards and you pay it in full every month, your credit score is still going to be low. So you're giving great advice on that.
Okay, so we're head on there. And what are there new changes coming this year? Have we seen any new changes? I know what we were talking. I'd heard at one time they were dealing with something with medical debt. And where are those changes? What do those look like?
Yeah. So as of now, medical debt's not supposed to be showing up on your credit report. So if you see any type of medical debt, paid or unpaid, give us a call. That's something we can work through. Next changes, Ron, they keep pushing it out, but they're talking about changing the credit score used in the mortgage industry. So the versions in the mortgage industry are probably about 25 years old. They're trying to update them. So we'll have to hold our breath and see if that happens, Ron.
So when you say they're 25 years old, and we say that the credit score shouldn't show, does that reflect even though the version is 25 years old?
How do you mean? What do you mean by it doesn't show?
So you said that the medical debt is not supposed to show up.
Oh, yep. So that's on credit reports. Yeah.
Okay.
So the FICO scoring models in the mortgage industry were created, in the early 90s, and so their FHFA said that they're trying to revamp it to where they're going to use a Vantage 4.0 and the FICO 10T. The 10T means trended data. Trended data is looking a 2-year look back on your credit card balances. So paying off your credit card, say I have a bunch of maxed out cards and then I pay them off. Well, the next month when that updates, my credit score can go up up to 100 points right now. Well, if they go to the FICO 10T, they're going to look at a 2-year average on your credit cards. Ooh. So somebody that has a lot of debt carries a lot of debt, can't just pay their credit cards off and their score is going to go up on this new version. So I'm not a big fan of the new version, but I understand they're trying to look at longer trends, like a 2-year trend on credit cards versus just 1 month.
So explain the difference between, you said FICO and the Vantage. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Vantage score was created by the credit bureaus to compete with FICO about 15 years ago. So Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they saw FICO had a monopoly. So they're like, let's just come up with our own credit score. Unfortunately, it was never really adopted. So Credit Karma is probably the biggest pusher for the Vantage score. If you're getting free credit scores, most of the time they're going to be Vantage scores, Ron. So I personally have seen the Credit Karma score be 10 points off. I've seen it be 100 points off. So it's just really not a good gauge on your mortgage FICO score.
So, to me as a consumer advocate, I look at it and say, why would I even want to I don't trust the bureaus anyway, right? Because we all know that they make more money if the scores are lower. They sell trigger leads, which drives everybody nuts. And now we want to trust them with a Vantage score to be the arbitrator there. It seems to me that whole Vantage idea, I'm kind of glad that they've never gone to it. Am I missing something?
No, I agree with you, Ron. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Visa and MasterCard settlement. I was watching the arraignment and they asked what the average profit was for Visa. And they're making about 50% of their income is profit. So when you only have 1 or 2 people in the market, 1 or 2 companies, the consumer is definitely at the disadvantage.
So we need to get a lot more of the competition in the market.
Yes, sir. 100%. Yep.
Great information. We're going to continue our conversation with Jeff Sipes when we come back. Continue our conversation. Jeff Sipes, Blue Water Credit. We are chatting about probably one of the top 3 items, maybe 4 items that goes into determining what your rate is going to be. That's your FICO score. So you're going to look at, what are you doing? Are you buying or are you refinancing? That's going to be one of the top items. what's your debt to income ratio, what's your loan to value, and what's your FICO score. FICO's right there. It is a major, major component. And, Jeff made this comment earlier, and I've said this before. So several years back, there was I think it was a 60 Minutes piece, and they said 20% of the FICO scores are wrong. And all the way back then, I said, okay, first family I helped with get a loan was 1983. I can tell you, I've been looking at credit reports for a long, long time. I've never seen one that's completely accurate. Never. Jeff, have you seen one that's completely accurate?
It's tough, Ron. If you go through, especially if you go to annualcreditreport.com, that's going to give you the most comprehensive credit reports. If you go through that with a fine-tooth comb, you can find a mistake on there for sure.
And and I'm saying I'm doing it as, I wouldn't say I'm a novice. I'm probably a mid B, say a B grade, okay, on a scale of 8.5. I can find them. Jeff's at an A grade. He's going to find the things that I don't even know about because I don't know the MOP and all these different codes and things that are on there. The average person doesn't even know to look for them.
Yeah.
Right?
And the big challenge we've seen lately, Ron, is everybody's on TikTok or watching reels on how to fix their credit. And I saw one just this last week where they were talking about Elon Musk violated some law, and because of that, your student loan could be forgiven, and it's completely misleading. So they're scamming these consumers, thinking they can get their school loans forgiven, paying some guy $500, and they're just pulling these theories out of thin air.
I saw one of the TikToks recently. Someone shared it with me, and it said, "I got this report on how to avoid all scams, and I'll send it to you for $10." And basically, it was, you just got scammed. Don't send money to people that you don't know.
Exactly, Ron.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, Jeff, because I like some of these things. And you've been doing this since 2008, I think.
Yep, 2008. Yeah.
Give me one of your most interesting stories that you've come across in all these years of doing helping people solve this problem.
Well, we talked earlier about someone being reported as deceased.
Yeah.
One of the common ones actually is if brothers and sisters have similar names, then their files are merged. I had a guy I talked to, he lived up in Lake Tahoe, and he's like, I'm for sure a victim of identity theft. And I'm like, well, let me see your credit. So he sends me his credit report, and he's like, that credit card, and that car loan are not mine. They were taken out as fraud. And I looked at these accounts, and they're all being paid on time. There was no late payments. They did have balances, but I was like, I don't think you've been a victim of identity theft. Someone's not going to steal your credit, Ron, and then start making payments on time, right? So what we found out was someone out there had his exact same name and same date of birth, Ron. The same name and the same date of birth. And so this guy lived in Texas, and because he had the same name and date of birth, his accounts were reporting on this other gentleman's credit report. So that was pretty rare, have the same name and same date of birth as someone else.
Yeah, that one is, I haven't heard that one. I've seen where, you get John Smith and John Smith Jr.
Yep.
Right. So and those are easy to get merged. And I've got a friend who's I'm not going to use his name, but John Smith and John Smith, and they didn't identify it as one as being senior, one as being junior. They live in the same city. So it would be logical to have the credit reports merged.
Yep.
How do you solve that?
Yep. How do you solve it? You just have to prove the identity. So we get a copy of the Social Security card. We get a copy of driver's license. We get a copy of some utility bill or bank statement. And then we send it off to the bureaus. We send it certified. And then within 35 to 45 days, if it's not fixed, we tee it up for our attorneys. Our attorneys will sue. And on a case like that, if there's just one account, we'll typically get around a $3,000 to $5,000 settlement from each credit bureau and the creditor. So 4 checks in the amount of around $3,000 each.
And, it used to be that, you could work on the files for 6 or 12 months. It seems to me from some of the things I've heard recently from your team that you've got 6 months to work on a file, so you have to pretty much get them to the attorneys quicker, don't you?
So with the attorneys, we usually we'll refer them within 45 days.
Oh, wow. That's pretty quick.
Yeah. So we'll meet with the client. We'll gather all the documents. We'll send everything out certified. 45 days later, we'll repull credit on a soft pull. If it's not fixed, then we tee it up and send it to the attorneys.
So people can really get their stuff done in a quick manner right now.
Yeah. Now the lawsuits aren't necessarily quick, Ron. Those usually settle within 3 to 9 months. Most of our cases are selling around 6 months.
Okay, so we still have to wait. We still have to figure that it's gonna be some time.
Yep. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of time, but we're always happy to do a consultation. We're always happy to give advice. So that's what we're here for.
And that's what. Now, do you pull the credit reports yourself, or do they have to send you a credit report?
We can do a soft pull, and if somebody has a lender report, like something that you pulled and they're able to share it with us, that's even better.
Okay, so we have those, and we also have, obviously, we have a service that we subscribe to. You can go to rsrlinks.com/FICO and get a report and send that right off to Jeff and his team. What's the best way to reach you guys, Jeff?
BlueWaterCredit.com, or they can call our office 916-315-9190, or they could email me personally, Jeff@BlueWaterCredit.com.
And Jeff and his team are very, very responsive. So if you want to get your credit worked on, it's not one of these fake things, and it's not mine. If it's your credit, that's not what they do, but they do follow the laws. And there's 3 or 4 laws that are out there that they understand the laws very, very well. They're not lawyers. They do have lawyers that they work with, but they're not lawyers. They're not giving you legal advice, but they're saying, hey, these are the things that we can do. Hire them to do it right. I'm just showing if you want to get it done, hire them, do it right. Great. As we talked with the attorney yesterday, when you pay somebody to do a good job, it doesn't cost you anything in the long run, because you're going to get the job done right and get it done right the first time, and probably quicker than any other way. And again, I highly, highly endorse Jeff Sipes and the team over there at Blue Water Credit. And as always, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you coming in.
Yep. Thank you, Ron.